Hey everyone, Once Bitten here with a series of battle reports. This is the report on Game 1 of the ScarabCon 2013 tournament. ScarabCon is a 5-game tournament in Columbia, South Carolina. There were only 16 players that showed up. I think they had significantly more than that, and then just for whatever reason there was a bunch of cancellations at the last minute. But it was still a lot of fun. Let's see, this is a 2,000 point tournament. They use an ETC comp system, kinda. You can bring any list you want, and your score based on the ETC system determines your first two pairings. And after that, it doesn't matter at all. So I hadn't really paid attention to that. I'm not one to take a list that would score poorly with ETC anyway. But bringing a soft list didn't really necessarily help you with this tournament. And interestingly, it was a hidden list tournament, which I thought was kind of cool because you just don't see that very often. I think it can be problematic in tournaments for hidden lists because, my fear is that I or my opponent are going to make a mistake and the other person can't catch the mistake in terms of what magic item you brought or whatever. But I really like that when there are tournaments that try out things like that. So this is my list. If you follow my battle reports, or my channel, you should be familiar with it. But it's a Minotaur themed list. So in order to make up my core, I have 7 Tuskor chariots that I used Minotaur models instead of Tuskors. I've got 2 units of 6 Minotaurs. They have a musician in standard. That's it. And then I've got 3 characters. There's a level 2 shaman, which obviously there's no Minotaur character for that, but I just modeled the Minotaur there. A Gore Bull BSB, and my Doom Bull, all equipped as you can see. And on the front left is what I use from a Transformation of Catan spell, should I get it. So this list has minimal magic and no range whatsoever. It's not actually, in some ways it's fast and in some ways it's not. The Minotaurs are fast because they can move 6, march 12, but the problem is I can't really throw them in unsupported because they're very, very fragile at toughness 4 and only a 6-up armor save. And when they win combat, if they break the opponent or whatever, they have to overrun or pursue and only do it d6 inches, and so they're very vulnerable to counter charges. So I can't rush them ahead of the chariots, and the chariots can't march. So I knew going into this tournament that it would be it should be a fun list to play, and just it has some inherent weaknesses to it. Some strengths it has is the Doom Bull, which is I think he's undercosted the way I have him built. He's just a beast. It's hard hitting, a lot of impact hits possible, and Minotaurs are nothing to sneeze at, especially once they start racking up frenzies. So that's the list. I'm not going to repeat it in future for the next 4 reports after this one. So there's that. First game, I got a draw against Wood Elves. This is a player that we knew each other by name only. I ran a league a few years ago that he played in. I know he's a top-notch player, very kind of guy that places at tournaments, bringing a very balanced Wood Elf army. Now my army scored a 15.7 on the ETC system, and that put me out of 16 players. I was either 3rd or 4th softest, and my opponent is also either 3rd or 4th softest. So I think that makes for an interesting game. So anyway, here's what he has. On the far right, he's got 20 Glade Guard with a banner of Springtide, which just means they can always stand and shoot, and his Battle Standard Bearers there. He's got a unit of 12 Glade Guard next to him, and kind of behind them, here's a better picture of it, is his General, which is a level 4 Lore of Life Spellweaver. The Wand of Wick Elm, I think, allows you to reroll Dispel attempts, and then he's got a 4 upward save. 8 Treekin, which I have learned to really respect, if not fear. And then over here towards my left, there's in the woods, he's got a Treeman, which you really can't see, and then he's got a Noble, which you really can't see. Now again, remember, this is a hidden list, so the Noble over here, I kind of figured he would have the Hail of Doom arrow, but other than that, I had no idea what he'd have. Now, when we were deploying, I actually asked my opponent if he had any scouts, and I don't think that he would have to tell me. I don't know if he would or not, because it's a hidden list and we hadn't got that there yet, but he very graciously said, yes, I do. And then I promptly forgot about it. And here on the left I have a Chariot, and I have my level 2 spellcaster set up in such a way that it would be easy for him to deploy his scouts and kill my guy first turn. Because that's just how I roll. I've got another Chariot, Minotaurs with the Doom Bull, couple more chariots. Well, I guess I should say 4 more chariots, a chariot on the far right, and then I've got a unit of minotaurs with my gore bull. Now the buildings we are playing is impassable, so you cannot enter buildings. My thinking here was that actually when I saw deployment, I really liked my chances for this game. I don't need to rush them too much. I'm going to move forward with my chariots for 2, maybe 3 turns, and then I'm going to charge him. And he's going to be shooting probably at my chariots, and I don't care. He can have them. It'd be nice if I had 1 or 2 left, but for the most part, I don't need them. They're shielding my minotaurs, so if he wants to shoot my minotaurs, I get a +2 cover save. And I'm willing to take it kind of slow on the far right because I don't think he can get away from me in the long run. What I don't like is he's got that weird piece of terrain in front of his glade guard that if my chariots go over it, they're going to have to take 2 dangerous terrain tests. So I don't like that, but whatever. Meanwhile, my thinking in the middle was I've got the gore bull to handle the treekin. I do not want to. I'll charge him out of the unit. I don't want the minotaurs to get messed up with the treekin. And other than that, anything on this side of the board is really, if I can just just whatever over here. Once my Doom Bull takes care of the treekin, gets nice and revved up, he can handle that treeman. So anyway, go to Wood Elf turn 1. On the left, he moves like this. That's where I found out that the noble has a 9-inch move because of one of the, I think it's called a kindred he can take. So he's way over the left. The treeman moves up. Glade guard scouts move up to shoot my wizard because I'm stupid. On the right, there's really not a whole lot of moving going on. During the magic phase, my strategy this game, first off, I know for the first 3 turns, if not most turns, he was getting 10 plus power dice every turn. So he would 6 dice Throne of Vines, and then pretty much would 6 dice whatever spell was most important at the time. So my strategy was just to stop Throne of Vines, and then he could just take his chances after that. So nothing of significance really happened in the magic phase. In the shooting phase, he kills my wizard. I think I burned a scroll just because I knew he was going to die anyway. During the shooting phase, I'm looking from left to right. One of my chariots took 3 wounds, which is kind of cool because it means if he wants to finish him off, he's got to, waste a bunch of shots. Go to Beastmen turn 1. What's he going to do? I move my chariots up 7 inches each. Minotaurs keep up behind him. Pull my Doom Bull up as fast as he can go. Keep the Minotaurs behind him. I don't really know what I want to do with those Minotaurs. I'd like him to get around the building and threaten his spellcaster and archers, or maybe threaten the treekin in the flank, but I'm not going to take them in the front of those treekin. I take my chariots that are on the left and I reform them to protect my flank. There we go. The Doom Bull. I am always a little bit nervous about the treekin. My opponent has the Lore of Life. It's kind of dangerous because if he gets off flesh to stone, I'll be wounding on 5s instead of 3s, and that could really go badly against me. More importantly, if he gets Throne of Vines and then flesh to stone, and I'm wounding on 6s, that's where I'm going to get in trouble. And that's another reason why I'm making sure he doesn't get Throne of Vines up, because other than that, there's not too many spells I'm not worried about. Go to Wood Elf turn 2. He moves his treeman around. I do not like what that treeman is. I don't really have anything to deal with them. And that's just bad planning on my part. I want the Doom Bull to get up with the treekin first before he messes with that treeman. And I can't charge a treeman anyway. Not a whole lot of movement otherwise, except here on the left. His scouting glade guard moves such that it's a long charge from my chariot, but he can still shoot at me. And if I do charge him, I've got to take dangerous terrain tests. Otherwise, his noble is just set up. He's going to Hail of Doom my minotaurs. So during the shooting phase, I don't know why he chose to pick on another chariot instead of killing the one they had 3 wounds on, but my guess is what he was trying to do was... oh wait, I take that back. My guess is that was magic. I don't know. He puts a wound on a chariot. He does the Strangle Root with his treeman and does 6 wounds to my minotaurs, kills 2 of them outright. Then he does Hail of Doom. I thought I was in trouble, but he rolled just horribly. He gets 3d6, I think strength 4 shots, whatever it is. And he does 5 wounds, which, it's 5 wounds, but that could have gone a lot worse for me. Now, what I like about this is both of my chariots are lined up for charges against his scouting glade guard and his noble. And on both of them, I probably need a 9. But, when you have Swift Stride, a 9 is, I think you have just over average chance of getting that. So, don't necessarily expect to make both those charges, but I like that I have them, that they're set up. So we go to Beastman turn 2, and again, it looks like that. I'm just moving my chariots up, my minotaurs on the right. My Doom Bull, I don't know if he failed a charge or if he just moved up. My guess is I think I just moved my Doom Bull up so that on a future turn, like if he doesn't charge me with his Treekin, I can maybe not charge his Treekin and go after his general or something else. So I just wanted to make sure I had the options I wanted to. My Minotaurs there on the left, I I would have moved him out of line of sight of his treeman if I could have, but I couldn't. So I just turned to face him. I think if he charges him, he's just going to tear up my Minotaurs, and that's just something I'm going to have to deal with. The good news is the Chariot over here makes the long charge against his Glade Guard. You know, and I think he may have needed a 10, not even a 9. But anyway, I roll high enough. I hit the wall. I fail my dangerous terrain test. I take D6 wounds, and I roll a 1. I was very unlucky to fail the test and very lucky that I only did 1 wound. Otherwise, my Chariot charges noble, and I failed it. I was bummed. I was bummed. I would have loved to have gotten that charge off there. Otherwise, the board looks like that. Yeah, really I'm just setting up options there. I kind of expect him to charge me. I didn't want to charge him, fail it, and be too far away. I want to make sure next turn that this guy's actually getting in combat. I like when my Doom Bull catches somebody that close to the board edge because I'm only going D6. I'm not going to run many people down. If they run, I want them going off the board. And his Treekin, if they fail their stubborn, may or may not be rerollable test, or steadfast test. They're going off. They should be going off the board. And if they hold, I'm actually okay with that because it's just going to make my Doom Bull revved up. And if he ever has to handle that Treeman, I want some frenzy markers on there. So here it is on the right. Now, of course, all I'm doing is moving up because there's no combat. I have no shooting. I have no magic. So the game's going pretty fast. After combat over here, impact hits and everything else. I think I killed the scouting Glade Guard to a man, or to an elf. So I just reformed. They didn't do any wounds on me. And we go to Wood Elf turn 3. Again, over here, you can see his smaller unit of Glade Guard back up a little bit. His other Glade Guard are sitting behind that wall. His Treeman didn't charge my Minotaurs. Instead, he just walked around me to strangle root me. Which is actually, it's not a bad idea, because if he comes into me, I am strength 5. You never know what could happen there. So it's probably a safer option for him. Over here on the left, the Noble charged my Chariot. I was really surprised about that. And I welcomed it, because remember, I've got a Chariot down below here. So almost no matter what happens with that combat, my other Chariot, with a decent roll, maybe a 9, can hit that Noble. So even if he beats my Chariot should get away. But I didn't think he would. I thought he would have a really hard time wounding me. He decided not to charge with his Treekin, and instead just made it so my Treekin could not, my Doom Bull couldn't do anything else. This, I think, was a mistake. It was a very, very minor mistake, but we're going to get in combat anyway. If he charged me, he would have a charge extra combat res, and that could help, because all I have to do is with my attacks, he could do it on his turn, get Flesh Stone off, and he might win through combat res. Secondly, if I charge him, I do D3 Strength 6 impact hits. So anyway, otherwise it looks like that. During shooting, this picture is kind of weird, but if you look at the very right hand side, you see a little corner of a Chariot in the middle of the picture. That one's actually dead. I'd removed it, and when it died, one of my other Chariots failed its panic test and ran away from the nearest enemy unit. Luckily, my Minotaurs are frenzied, and the other Chariots did not fail. So I still have 3 Chariots threatening, 1 Chariot dead, and 1 Chariot at the moment is fleeing over here. On the far right, Chariot took a couple wounds, and I'm okay with a couple wounds. And over here, his Noble charged in. I did no wounds to him. He did 1 wound to me, broke me, but couldn't run me down. So I am really happy about this, because now I have a decent charge with the other Chariot, and if the other Chariot wins, it'll overrun into the Treeman, and probably won't win that in the long run, but will keep him from charging on his next turn. So we go to Beastmen turn 3. Let's see, the Chariot that failed its panic continued to run. The Chariot that lost combat to the Noble rallied, if you look on the left. My Chariot that had beaten the scouting Glade Guard had to charge over that dang wall again. It passed its dangerous terrain test this time, made the charge into his Noble, and I'm thinking with impact hits and combat and all that, I should kill him, overrun to the back of the Treeman, and at the beginning of Wood Elf turn 4, he won't be able to charge, and that would be just awesome. There's that. Very, very happy about that. And then on my next turn, on my other Chariot can charge on my next turn against that treeman if I feel that would help. Doombull goes into the Treekin. They do have Flesh of Stone up, so I'm wounding on 5. So I am worried about this, because the best way to kill the Doombull is through combat res. Over here I had one Chariot make it into combat, another Chariot failed its charge. The third Chariot, I don't know if I even tried. I think it might have been too far away. And I don't think I tried with my minotaurs. So either I don't know. Either I tried, I think I tried and failed. So after combat over here, I was ticked. Chariot comes in with D6 impact hits and all the other attacks. I do a single wound to this guy, and he does 2 wounds to my Chariot. It's a tied combat. Now that I still don't know how that happened. I mean, just awful. I mean, whatever. Those things happen. Whatever. So over here, my Chariot went in with 2 wounds already from shooting. He did one more wound to me in combat. And I did a bunch of wounds to him. He was steadfast and stuck. Assuming I won. Whoever won. Whatever. We both stuck. And over here, yeah, I didn't do too many wounds. I think by looking at it, it looks like I did 5 wounds. And he did 1 wound to me, which was very unusual to get a wound through on the Doombull. And he was steadfast, but he didn't get the reroll because his battle standard bearer made way to attack my Chariot, and that pulled him out of the 12 inches. So he was steadfast, failed it, ran. Of course, I don't run him down, but he didn't. Like, he ran a 4 and I ran a 1. I was like, darn it! I got the worst of both worlds because I really wanted him off the board. So Wood Elf turn 4. His treeman charged my minotaurs, and to be honest with you, my memory was that I fled the charge. I think I fled it, and I didn't go too awful far. He probably should have got me, and then he just rolled horribly low, and it was a failed charge. So very, very lucky on that one. Over here, his Treekin rallied. Like, darn it. Because now he's got a magic phase again. I've got to do it all over with my Doombull. Yeah. Kind of a bummer. This is just a bad picture showing that another Chariot bit the dust through shooting. And over here through combat, this noble is tough. He 2 wounds the first round of combat, I'm sorry, he did 1 wound the first round of combat and 2 wounds the second round of combat. Killed my Chariot. And over here, he didn't wound me this time, luckily. He reformed to get some ranks. So pretty happy with this Chariot. But the way things are is my Minotaurs can't charge in because they can't make it with the wheel and everything else. So I go ahead and take this Chariot into the rear of the Treeman. Really, I'm hoping just to get lucky there. If I could maybe do a wound or something to him, maybe just stick in combat, keep him from charging those Minotaurs and getting back in my business. I need him out of the thick of things until my Doombull can turn around. Over here, I charged the Gorebull out of my Minotaur unit into the what used to be the big unit of Glade Guard with his Battle Standard Bearer, and I love that. It actually worked out perfectly because my other Minotaurs can move the way they did, and his small unit of Glade Guard aren't going to be able to get out of their charge. And they're close enough to the back of the board that I might be able to run off the board should I need to if his treatment comes up or something. So very happy about that. Take the Doombull into the Treekin again, and again they have Flesh to Stone up. And let's say on my turn, those Minotaurs rallied and they reformed where you saw them. After combat, yeah, he actually took the last wound off my Chariot, but the Doombull the Gorebull did very nicely for himself, so he's got a second frenzy marker now, and I'm comfortable with that. By the end of the game, he's gonna destroy that unit. They're not gonna, he's toughness 5 and he's got a 4 board and a 4 armor, so I'm very comfortable with him surviving. And let's see, after combat, I kill some more Treekin, and I win combat. He holds, and again, I'm okay with that. I mean, I'd rather than get off the board, but my Doombull, once he gets freed up, he's gonna be nice and frenzied. So Wood Elf turn 5. During combat, he kills my Chariot. So on his turn, he he's facing the minotaurs. He declares a charge. I just decide not to flee, and the reason was because I felt that it was very unlikely to get away again, and if I fled and then he caught me, he would be right up in my business. So I decide just to hold and maybe hopefully get lucky, and he fails the charge. So it's 2 failed charges with the treeman. Otherwise, everything looks like that. The only thing he can really move is his general. If you look at the far right, he moved him there. That's a mistake, because if my Gore Bull wins combat right now, if I overrun, I probably will still be able to see his general, and on my turn I can charge him. But you never. I mean, he may have thought that his guys would be steadfast or otherwise stick. So during the magic phase, he regrows some Treekin and gets Flesh of Stone off on him, which it didn't bother me too much. The Flesh of Stone, as long as it doesn't have, as long as it's not buffed, I'm okay with that. But otherwise, yeah, I don't care. I'm not going to kill these guys to a man anyway. I just need to win combat and for them to fail their steadfast. So during shooting, he picks on my minotaurs, picks on these minotaurs. And after combat, yeah, I think I killed his battle standard bearer. No, his battle standard bearer would refuse my challenge every time, so there's no reroll. So I just chopped up on his glade guard, got him under steadfast. They failed, so his BSB died when they broke. He got away, but he only has 2 guys left, so he's on Snake Eyes, and he's going to run off the board. And my guy only went a couple inches and can easily see his general. So the game is wrapping up very, very nicely here for the Beastmen. The Doom Bull's chopping things up, doing what he does. We go to Beastman turn 5. Gore Bull charges his mage. My Minotaurs and Chariot charge his last Glade Guard unit. My other Minotaurs are running as fast as they can away from the treeman. After combat, yeah, my Gore Bull's still on the table. My General is still on the table. The Minotaur unit actually is off the table. They overran off the table. Chariot reformed. I don't need him to threaten. I just trying to keep that treatment away from that small unit of 2 Minotaurs. Wood Elf turn 6. He decides not to charge. He's going to try to strangle root him. Had he charged, I would have fled. And people forget about that. They think that Minotaurs are frenzied. Minotaurs are not frenzied. They're only frenzied if they're joined by Minotaur character. And then once they win combat or whatever. So that's why I'm fleeing. And had he charged them, I would have fled, and certainly have gotten away. So he's going to try to strangle root him. And he does, but he only does 4 wounds. And so I have a guy living. And it goes to my turn. There's nothing to do. There's nothing I have that can or should charge. And there it is. So victory to the Beastmen. It ended up being a 15-5. Once it's a 20-point scoring system. I lost a ton of chariots. He lost everything on the table except for his treeman and his noble. But overall, yeah, I can't complain about it. I felt that it was a good matchup for me. I don't know if I was going to play it again, what I would do differently, because part of me wants to rush the Minotaurs up instead of hiding behind the chariots, but I really think there wouldn't have been any Minotaurs left by the time I got up there. So, not sure about that. But happy with the win. This is a very experienced, very sound player, and so to start off a tournament with a win against an opponent like that, I'll take it. So we go to game 2 at 15 points.